Hi, my name is Madison MacQuarrie, and I'm here today to share with you 8 tips for talking to children about COVID-19. Children might find it difficult to understand what they're seeing online or on TV or hearing from other people during this time. They may worry about themselves, their family, or their friends getting sick with COVID-19, but having an open, supportive discussion with children can help them understand, cope, and develop resilience. Parents, family members, school staff, and other trusted adults can play an important role in helping children make sense of what they hear in a way that's honest, accurate, and minimizes anxiety or fear. Whether you're an educator or a parent, hopefully these tips will make tough conversations about the times we're currently experiencing a little easier. As I mentioned, my name's Madison, and I'm a project coordinator at the Early Childhood Collaborative Research Center at Mount Saint Vincent University, and I'm currently coordinating our research project about the impacts of the pandemic on families. This video is a prequel to a webinar we're hosting next Thursday on March 18th at 7 p.m. Atlantic Time, where I'll be sharing some findings from our research on how maritime families have been experiencing the pandemic and some strategies for how early childhood educators can improve their connection with families during this time. You can register for the webinar through the link in the description for this video. Tip number 1, find out what your child already knows. It's great to start by making sure that you're in a safe environment and allowing your child to talk freely. You may want to ask your child open-ended questions and really listen to what they have to say. Following their lead to guide the conversation is helpful because too much information can create fear. Some kids may want to spend time talking, but if your kids don't seem interested or don't ask a lot of questions, that's also all right. You can ask questions geared to your child's age level. For older kids, you might ask, what are you hearing about COVID-19 or the coronavirus? What questions do you have? For younger children, you could say, do you have questions about the new sickness that's going around? This gives you a chance to learn how much kids know. It's also important to give kids space to share their fears. It's natural for them to worry. Could I be next? Could this happen to me? Let them know they can always come to you for answers or talk to them about what scares them. Drawing, sharing stories, or using other activities your child likes to engage in may help to open up a discussion. Demonstrate that you're listening by giving them your full attention and make sure that they understand that they can talk to you and their teachers or educators whenever they like. Tip number 2, be honest and explain the truth in a child-friendly manner. Children have a right to truthful information about what's going on in the world, but adults also have a responsibility to keep them safe from distress. Share information and use language that's appropriate for the developmental level of the child. For example, you might say, COVID-19 or the coronavirus is a type of germ. These germs are very, very small, and when they get inside your body, they can make you sick. The germs get in your body through your nose, your mouth, or your eyes. When someone coughs and touches a doorknob, and then you touch the doorknob, those germs might get into your body. It's helpful to wash our hands a lot and to try to stay away from big crowds. If you can't answer their questions, it's best not to guess. It's okay to say, I don't know, or to use it as an opportunity to explore the answers together. Talk to children about how some stories on COVID-19 on the internet and on social media may be based on rumors and inaccurate information. Children may misinterpret what they hear, and they can be frightened about something they don't understand. It's important to watch their reactions during your conversations. Don't offer more detail than your child is interested in. For example, if kids ask about restaurants closing, address their questions, but if this topic doesn't come up, there's no need to raise it. As I mentioned before, too much information can cause fear. Tip number 3 is remain calm. Remember that children will react to both what you say and how you say it. Kids pick up on it when their parents worry. They'll pick up on cues from the conversations you have with them and the conversations you have with others. So when you talk about COVID-19 and the news about COVID-19, use a calm voice and try not to seem upset. Tip number 4 is offer reassurance. Reassure children that they are safe. Let them know that it's okay if they feel upset. If you're experiencing an outbreak in your area, remind your children that they're not likely to catch the disease and that most people who have COVID-19 don't get very sick and that lots of adults are working hard to keep your family safe. If your child does feel unwell, explain that they have to stay at home because it's safer for them and for their friends. Reassure them that you know it's hard and maybe even scary or boring at times, but that following the rules will help keep everyone safe. Young kids might also be reassured to know that hospitals and doctors are prepared to treat people. Old kids might be comforted to know that scientists are working to develop a vaccine. Most importantly, don't minimize or avoid their concerns. Be sure to acknowledge their feelings and assure them that it's natural to feel scared about these things. Tip number 5, avoid language that might blame others. When having a conversation with your children about COVID-19, it's best to avoid language that could lead to stigma or could blame others for topics such as race, culture, or traveling, or blaming animals for the spread of the virus. Explain that COVID-19 has nothing to do with what someone looks like, where they come from, or what language they speak. Tip number 6, pay attention to what children see and hear. Pay attention to what children see or hear on TV, radio, or online. Consider reducing the amount of screen time focused on COVID-19. Too much information on one topic can lead to anxiety. This is especially important for older kids who go online. Point them to age-appropriate content so that they don't end up finding news shows or outlets that scare them or have incorrect information. It's important to put news stories into context. If your children ask, explain that serious illness and death in kids from the virus is still rare despite what they might hear. You can also watch the news with your kids so that you can filter what they hear. Tip number 7, show them how to protect themselves and their friends. One of the best ways to keep children safe from COVID-19 and other diseases is to simply encourage regular hand washing. You can sing a song or do a dance to make this activity fun. Explain that regular hand washing also helps stop viruses from spreading to others. Be a good role model and let your kids see you washing your hands often. You can also let them know that hand sanitizer is a perfectly good stand-in when they can't find soap and water. You can also show children how to cover a cough or sneeze with their elbow. Explain that it's best not to get too close to people who have these symptoms. You can also explain to your child that wearing a mask helps prevent the spread of COVID-19. Teaching your kids that getting lots of sleep, washing their hands well and often, and wearing a mask can help them stay strong and well and will give your child specific things to focus on to help them feel in control. Tip number 8, close conversations with care. It's important to know that we're not leaving children in a state of distress. As your conversation wraps up, try to gauge their level of anxiety by watching their body language, considering whether they're using their usual tone of voice, and watching their breathing. Remind your children that they can have other difficult conversations with you at any time. Remind them that you care, that you're listening, and that you're available whenever they're feeling worried. Keep checking in with your child. It's important to help them think through the stories they hear and continue to answer questions they may have as times and situations change. So those are all 8 tips for how to talk to children about COVID-19. Overall, it's important to provide children an opportunity to share their thoughts and feelings in a safe place to do so. Communicate honestly with them about what's going on in a child-friendly manner and provide them with comfort and support. So you can find the links to some of the resources I used to compile this list of tips in the description for this video. So as I mentioned earlier, this video is a prequel to a webinar we're hosting next Thursday on March 18th at 7 p.m. Atlantic time, where I'll be sharing some findings from our research at the Early Childhood Collaborative Research Center on how maritime families have been experiencing the pandemic and some strategies for how early childhood educators can improve their connection with families during this time. We'll be offering PD certificates for any attendees. You can register for the webinar through the link in the description for this video, and once you've registered, a link will be emailed to you a couple of days before the webinar. Hope to see you there.